Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Dr. Dawn Michael. Today we're going to be talking about lack of desire or low libido, or if you just aren't feeling like you want to be sexual. And people go through this throughout their lives. It's not that unusual. It could happen when you change a relationship, if for some reason you are sick. Perhaps sometimes people go through bouts of depression, loss of a job. It could be due to a pregnancy. I mean, there's many reasons that somebody may have a low sex drive or low libido. But it's really important to figure out why if this is not normal for you. And this is where people struggle. And many times when I'm working with an individual or a couple, I will do a sex history with them to find out what their normal pattern of sexual desire is, how often they're having sex, how often they're masturbating. And this really can decide what their pattern is. Oftentimes people will say, oh, couples, they're supposed to have sex, 3 times a week, every day. There is no normal. So it really depends on each person. And so that's why it's important to do some type of a sex history. And if you want to take a moment to get a piece of paper and a pencil, this would be the time to do it if you need to jot some things down, or obviously you can pause the video and go back. But I want you to take a moment to figure out what your sexual pattern is. And whatever age you're at right now, you would date back to the first time that you really realized that you were sexual, probably after puberty. And kind of, if you can go back to, was your sexual pattern, how frequent it was up until where you are now, how many relationships you've been in, how often you've masturbated. If you've been in a relationship, did you masturbate as you were having sexual intercourse in the relationship? For men, many times when they're in a long-term relationship, they will still have a sexual pattern where they will masturbate in between having intercourse. Sometimes women don't do that, and that can actually create a lower libido if they're not having sex for long periods of time and they're not masturbating. And so it's really important to find out what is your sexual pattern, meaning what is your sexual release pattern, really, because that's going to determine what your body's used to. And for the most part, if all of a sudden you have had this sexual pattern and then you stop for whatever reason, you will notice that over time that your libido will not be as high. It typically will not be as high. And so that's just something to be aware of, because that could be one of the reasons why you're experiencing a loss of desire. Another reason, and this is a very important factor, is hormones. Hormones play a big part, not just in the desire itself, but if your hormones are off and the ratios are off, then you can feel depressed, you could feel anxious, you could feel moody, it could interrupt your sleep. For women, if their estrogen levels are really low, it can create painful sex by having a dry vagina. The skin gets very thin. So it's extremely important to get your hormones checked if you're having a loss of desire. So that would be one of the first things, is to get your hormones checked, as well as to figure out if you have any type of an illness, because sometimes an illness can create loss of desire. If there's any type of blood flow problem, that can make it so the blood doesn't flow properly to your organs, and so they're not getting the proper blood flow to get engorged and to feel the whole process of arousal. So you want to eliminate the hormones, you want to eliminate if there's any health problems. Also, exercise is important. If you were somebody who was athletic before, or you consistently did a lot of exercise and then all of a sudden you stopped, that can also create a lower libido. It can make you feel sluggish. So that might play into it, and you might want to kind of put that into your, your daily schedule too, to maybe move your body around more. Weight also plays an issue because if you're very, very overweight, it can make it so that your estrogen levels are higher. And so then again, your hormone ratio is off, and that can create a loss of desire. So lastly, and of course very important, is situational lack of desire, meaning the situation that you're in. So let's say that you're perhaps in a long-term relationship and maybe you're not as excited to be with your spouse or your partner, and you haven't really put that much energy and effort into making sex fun or keeping it exciting. Maybe you've lost an attraction, for the person you're with, and you might need to rekindle that spark. Maybe you don't feel sexy yourself. Maybe, you have gone into some downward spiral, and that can happen where you have negative negative thoughts that lead to loss of sexual desire. Like if you're constantly putting yourself down or saying that you don't look good, all of that can make you feel not very sexy and make it so you really don't want to engage in being sexual with someone. So thoughts are very powerful. And so that might be something you want to work on if you're feeling that, or figure out what to do about it to make yourself feel better. Also, your relationship. Are you having intimacy outside the bedroom? Are you getting along with your spouse? Are the two of you constantly fighting? That can wreak havoc on your intimate life. If you're constantly having aggravated thoughts about one another, or angry thoughts or resentment, that really can take away from sexual desire. And that would be situational lack of desire, because it's the situation you're in. So you may have desire outside your relationship, but you don't have desire inside your relationship. So you really need to determine what it is so that you can fix it. And everything that I've talked about today is determining what it is. So once you know what it is, then you can fix the problem. It's very hard to fix a problem if you haven't really pinpointed what that is. One last thing I wanted to say was sometimes with women, if you are on birth control for long periods of time, that can also add to loss of desire. Pregnancy, postpartum depression, that can also create loss of desire, but that can also take you out of your sexual routine. And this happens with couples where the pregnancy kind of interrupts that, routine, and so it's hard to get back into it. And that can create time where couples are not having sex for months, and it's really important to kind of get back into being intimate, and don't let it go on for too long, because the longer that you let something like this go on, the harder it is to light your fire back up. But not impossible, it's just a little more difficult. So those are really some of the main topics or main issues that can create loss of desire, lack of desire, and really just pinpoint what it is. And once you figure it out, then take the steps to work on it. And again, if you need help, get the help that you need. So you can reach me at thehappyspouse.com. If you want to set up an appointment, you can go through the contact page, and I also do answer questions for a small fee. If you like this video, please remember to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share my videos, and leave your comments. As you know, I believe everyone deserves to have a healthy sex life, and so do you.